I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show on the Stansberry Radio Network. So I have Sam Shank on the line. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm good.
And Sam, you're
glad to be here.
You're the creator of one of my favorite apps, Hotel Tonight, where when I first started using it, it was like God came down and saved the world for me. Because whenever I was in New York City late at night, I would say, okay, it's too late to go back upstate home. I'm just going to go from hotel to hotel. There's got to be a room open. And it would take me hours sometimes to find a room in a hotel. Like, you never know if, like, the president's in town, there's no rooms available. But Hotel Tonight is this app where I could just, like, essentially click a button and there's a hotel room available for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the key use cases, and that's one of the reasons why we built the app, is that we thought that with mobile becoming more prevalent, that what was the thing that we could bring to the world for hotel booking that couldn't exist before, and that was that last minute. We didn't have your computer anymore, and that's what we focused on initially, and really just built the best service possible for that specific use case.
So I have a ton of questions about the app, but I want to start off with your background. Like, you kind of right before Hotel Tonight, you were doing a lot of stuff kind of in the online travel industry. But even before that, like, what's your secret origin story? I know you got an MBA that you're ashamed of. What's the story with that?
Well, I think that's not as interesting as the early origin story. The sort of secret origin story is that
you came from the planet Krypton.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a weakness to kryptonite, but I started in wanting to be a film director, and moved from Virginia, where I grew up, to Hollywood, and worked on the movie Scream, and was an assistant to Wes Craven, and realized that ultimately I didn't want to be a film director, but I like to create stuff, and I liked technology a lot more than I liked the filmmaking industry.
Well, why didn't you want to be a film director? And I would imagine, Wes Craven was probably a really interesting guy to learn from.
Yeah, he was, and he's one of these. In Hollywood, there's a lot of pun intended, bad actors, but he is one of just the genuinely nice guys out there, and and was very helpful and supportive, and understanding on everything. I wanted to be, I guess I'm just sort of creative. I like to build things. I like to make things. Also just a huge, lover of films and entertainment and storytelling. So wanted to see if I could do that myself. And that was sort of the childhood dream that I gave it a shot to for a year, and then moved on to what ended up being a much better fit for me.
Okay, but again, the film industry sounds great. And you were an assistant to Wes Craven. You were and Scream was like the top movie of the year. What made you? What kind of turned you off to the whole thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with very few people actually ever get to direct movies. And I was looking around and I saw guys that were double my age that were doing glorified versions of my job. They were doing a lot of script reading and development. They still aspired to be a director. They were still working on their own screenplays and didn't ever have a chance to do that because it's not very egalitarian there in Hollywood. It's only a couple hundred people get to actually create a film and direct a film every year. And it's not as much about merit as it is about really just being in the right place at the right time. And I didn't want to bet my whole career and my whole life effectively on that luck of the draw. And instead I wanted to get to a place where I could control my own destiny, and felt that with my first company, which was Travel Post, and also in the travel space as a hotel review site 10 years ago, I built that a lot single-handedly on the coding side. On all the front-end coding I did myself, and got it launched for about $100,000. And that'd be very hard to do in the movie business because of the costs associated with it, and the fact that you have to go through the studio gatekeepers to have anyone ever see your movie.
So you kind of wanted to, you were, the gatekeeper sort of put the statistics against you, and you figured you didn't want to bet on those statistics because, like you say, there's probably 1 million people in LA who want to be directors, and only 100 people will have a successful career as a director, or less. Yeah,
that too. And
did Wes Craven give you any advice along these lines, or what did you learn directly from him that you were able to apply later?
Yeah, I think it was more about how he managed people and how he motivated people. He's a very, very laid back guy, leads through example. He never never had a hot temper, but worked incredibly hard, and people just loved working for him. And he embodied this sort of respectfulness for everyone around him, and caused everybody to up their game. And I learned a lot about leadership by watching him, and not many people in Hollywood are like that.
Can I ask, what's a specific case where you saw him exhibit this kind of benevolent leadership?
It was more what he didn't do, right? So I guess there was one moment where this was a big deal in the film, where the cinematography was flawed on 2 days of the shoot, that it was basically out of focus, which meant that we had to go back and reshoot those days, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for every hour that everybody's working there. And he just said, you know what, it's out of focus. We're going to have to make some changes and redo those. And I could tell that he was about to lose it, and he just walked out of the room. And he didn't get mad. It was just the facts. And, we ended up getting a new cinematographer, making changes, but, the movie went on, and he was able to keep his cool, which was incredibly hard given how angry I'm sure he must have been.
Just a coincidence. My, at the time in the mid 90s, I was making, websites for entertainment companies, and, I didn't do the website for Scream, but I did the website for Scream 2. So
no way.
Just a little overlap, tiny overlap.
Pretty small world. All right. Well done.
So okay. So you moved on from Hollywood. And by the way, the interesting lesson I get there is that, when he was incredibly upset at something that's very frustrating, the key is to sort of understand that these things happen, and to kind of swallow your emotions a little bit, because these cycles are always going to kind of happen.
Yeah, and I think that I'm sure he got very upset, or was very direct with the people that he was working with, or that were responsible for this. But he didn't let that trickle out into getting mad at everybody else.
Right.
Which was really, and it can be scary when you're have to reshoot some scenes during the middle of it, and everybody can start worrying about their job. And he didn't bring that to the table. It was great.
And how did he feel about you leaving the industry?
He always knew that I was more interested I think he knew that I was more interested in technology than in filmmaking. And so he was, wishing me the best, and we stayed in touch a little bit. And I was then, I was incredible. Like I left before the movie was released, so we had no idea if it was going to be a big hit or not. And then I stayed in touch with him and congratulated him because they ended up creating $1 billion franchise. And, he sort of reinvented this whole portion of the genre. And it's, he was like, hey, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to do what I love, and other people love it too. And, so that was also cool to see. And I think that, the other learning for me is that was my first startup that I'd been around that had success. I didn't have much to do with that success. I didn't, get to, be around even for when the success happened, but I got to see that it was, that a small group of people with a great idea, with great execution, can build something really great that impacts a lot of people. And that sort of carried with me in that sense that, a small group can do big things, and that I wanted to do those big things too.
And what, like, so obviously there's a small factor of luck in the success of that franchise, but what things not related to luck do you think contributed, and not related to his leadership skills, contributed to the success of essentially what you're saying is your first startup that you were involved in?
Yeah, I think it's about execution. It was a really great script. There was a lot of people vying to buy the script, and then it was really well cast, and people were really passionate about it, and the details were there, and Wes assembled a really great team, from my friend Lisa Beach, who did the casting, and Sarah Katzman, to all the way down to the producers, and then getting Drew to come and work for 1 week. She did very well financially, as well as with her career, for that 1 week of work, and then just the level of detail that everyone had there. So I think it all just came together, and then there was, I think a lot of people that were on that movie that started, the Weinsteins that saw the vision there. They really had a pulse on what the market wanted, which was they wanted to be scared. They wanted that thrill and excitement of being scared in a safe way, right, in a limited way.
What does that mean? What does that mean, a safe way?
Well, I mean, in a movie theater, right? So, like, they actually people don't want to be really scared.
Right.
They want to have these experiences, though, this endorphin rush of being thrilled and scared. It's like riding a roller coaster. But they wanted something fresh and new that was more relevant. And so I think that those guys had a really good sense of what the culture needed, which is a real skill, and the Weinsteins have been able to do that over and over and over.
And then you went from there, and you spent some time, I guess, at Excite and at CNET, some of these kind of like, mid to late 90s companies that were big and then flamed out to some extent. CNET's still kicking around and doing really well. And Excite certainly had its moment and then went away. But then I worked at a company called NextTag, which was maybe the second startup type company I worked for, which went on to be $1 billion comparison shopping engine that became very successful. But it was the sort of that portion of my career, that 10 years, was about, hey, I want to start a business. I want to start a business in technology. I'm not ready yet. I want to meet a lot of people. I want to learn a lot. I want a variety of experience. I did a lot of product work. I did a lot of business development and sales work. And really just getting every skill I could, talking to everybody I could, so that when I was ready to start my own thing, that I'd be well prepared. How did you know that you weren't ready yet? Because I get a lot of emails from people, for instance, they have an idea and they think they're just ready to go, and they don't realize that there are like lots of skills to succeed in a startup. It's not just the idea, and it's not even just the execution. Like, how did you know that you weren't ready yet?
I think that I've thought about this a lot, and when people ask me this, I say that you're ready when it feels just uncomfortable enough that you can bear starting a company, because it's hard, it's intimidating, it's going to be a total grind, it's going to be brutal, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So you got to go in knowing that, and when you're ready for it, then go ahead and do it, because the best way to learn about starting a business is to start a business. You can read everything, you can prepare yourself. For me, I wasn't ready to commit. I wasn't ready to take that step until I was about 10 years ago when I did Travel Post. And then it was just barely sort of palatable, barely possible for me to do it. But I think that especially if people are early in their career and they can get funding, or they're able financially to afford to start a company, there's not a lot of downside, especially in this part of the world. And you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn probably more about yourself than about starting a business. But it's something that when you do it earlier in your career, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a family, you don't have all these responsibilities that come with age. And there's frankly just not a lot of downside to it. And if it's something you really want to do and you're ready to do it, I suggest people go for it.
So talk about the first couple of businesses you started, because everything sort of kind of paved the way to Hotel Tonight, which is looking like it's going to be an incredibly successful business. I mean, it already is.
So the first company I started was called Travel Post, and it actually started when I was at business school, which was the key reason I went to business school, was to use that as a platform for starting a company, which ended up being successful as the outcome of business school, and also learned a lot while I was there and met a lot of people that were very instrumental in my career, both personal and as well as professionally. But that business was originally a travel community sharing travel experiences, which ended up being a really lousy business. People were sharing travel experiences. There was just no money around that. The advertising, it was, the design of that business was to be advertising supported.
You couldn't do like affiliate fees. Like if someone had a travel experience to this hotel in Italy, you couldn't do some sort of like affiliate deal with that hotel, or there just wasn't enough people clicking?
We tried. The thing is, when people are coming in to look at other people's travel experiences, they're not necessarily in the travel booking mindset. So they'd say, oh yeah, I like Bob's, travel photos to Vienna, but I'm not interested in going to Vienna. And so the affiliate fees ended up being about $1 CPM. And we were making, in the low thousands of dollars a week, on that business, which wasn't ever going to get us to where we needed to go. So we ended up pivoting or broadening or refocusing whatever that business towards hotel reviews, and licensed some hotel reviews from a market research company, and focused on building a really great hotel database with really great photos and reviews from people like you. So they were filterable by the demographics of the people that had written the review. So you can see, I don't want to see reviews from everybody. I want to see reviews from people like me. And it was very successful from a price perspective, and much more successful from a revenue perspective. It was like 50 times more monetization, because when people were coming to the site, they said, hey, I want to look at the reviews for the Atlantis and Bermuda. And that meant that they were very likely to end up going and booking the Atlantis and Bermuda. And we would get those affiliate fees, as you mentioned. So it's all about
affiliate fees are working. Were you selling advertising? Sorry to interrupt. I'm a habitual interrupter.
No, go ahead.
But were you selling advertising also? Like, let's say the Hotel Atlantis, were you advertising from scuba diving companies, or what else were you doing to monetize?
Yeah, I mean, we were like 5 people, and I was doing sales as well. So we didn't have a direct sales team, and we weren't big enough to sell that. We didn't have enough inventory to sell those types of spots. We did use AdSense. And so we probably got some scuba diving stuff that would come in through AdSense there. But what we sold directly was links off to booking sites, where they'd pay us either a commission, or they'd pay us a cost per click fee for the traffic we'd send them.
And when you decided to pivot, was that like a hard moment that you were giving up on one model and switching to another, or were you suddenly like super excited about this other model? Like what were the emotions around the pivot?
Yeah, I was excited about it because I saw that it was commercially going to be more viable, and then we also had a product hook and an angle that was different than TripAdvisor. So was excited about it from that standpoint. I also had difficulty abandoning the previous version, and in looking back on it, we probably should have just abandoned it completely, but instead we sort of interweaved that business in with Hotel Tonight, and it created just slowed us down. So if I could do it over, I probably would have just not held on, cut those emotional strings from the previous business and moved to the new one much more quickly.
Because you could see over time you were going to max out in the low 4 digits on revenues per week.
Yeah, that there was, and that I felt sort of a guilt associated with, hey, people had come and trusted us with their travel experiences, and we need to continue to grow and maintain that business. what we could have done is just maintain that business and, let people know that we weren't going to be investing in it as much going forward. But instead of, integrating it with the hotel review portion of the business, and instead of, spending time enhancing that travel experiences portion, it didn't reinforce and didn't benefit the hotel reviews as much as we thought it did. And we should have clipped it or segmented it out.
Okay, so then what happened next? So you ended up selling this business.
Yeah, we got to profitability and about 1 million unique visitors, but it wasn't. We didn't have a lot of resources to invest in the business, and it was precarious profitability, to say the least. It was very SEO driven as a business, and things would happen where we'd get a lot of traffic, where then we'd get hit by an algorithm change, and we'd lose a lot of traffic, and they would come back. It was very businesses are stressful in general. Businesses that are SEO driven, where there's a black box that you don't really know what's going on, are very, very stressful. So we had precarious profitability. We had the opportunity to raise money or sell the business to a larger company called Sidestep, and I advocated to the board to sell the business. I'm happy we did. And the Sidestep then gave us more resources to invest in the business and integrate that in with their comparison shopping engine, which Sidestep's sort of like Kayak in terms of the meta search for travel. And then when I was at Sidestep, I worked there for about 15 months, and Sidestep was actually then sold to Kayak during that time, which ended up being a very good exit for everyone involved.
So let me ask you this. So you marketed the hotel review data from a company. Why couldn't that company have a hotel review site? Like, you didn't have anything really proprietary if you were licensing all this hotel review data.
We licensed it exclusively and gave them equity and Travel Post in return for that. So that was part of the deal. And the deal was that we had the ability to do something with that data. We could build a website around it, and then we knew SEO and knew how to drive traffic to it, and we knew how to build the commercial relationships in order to monetize the data.
I see. So they didn't have that ability. They couldn't make a website. They just had the data from somewhere.
Yeah, they offer, that business. They did surveys on behalf of hotels. To, like, after somebody checked out, they'd say, hey, the hotel XYZ would like to know how they did, and then they get review data from that.
I see. And the hotels were fine with them licensing this data to you?
Oh yeah. There was portions of the data that were definitely owned by the hotels. There were other portions of the data that market research firm did to provide a baseline for all their hotels, and that's the portions that we used.
So then, after you left the company, you even got closer to the hotel business. You started and became CEO of DealBase.com. So what was that all about?
Yeah, DealBase, it was really inspired by a company called Retail Me Not, which was small at that time, now is public and multi-billion-dollar company. And it was about bringing meaning to all the variety of travel deals that are out there and bringing them all into one place. That's email deals, private sales, special offers, hotel-specific discounts that are offered just by the hotel, all the OTA discounts, online travel agency discounts, everything under the sun, AAA rates, bringing them all into one place where it would be very easy to say, I'm going to go to the Zeta in San Francisco. What's the best way for me to buy that hotel? And that was the idea behind it. And we started working on that business and basically got it to profitability. And then that's when started thinking about what's next for that business, which led to thinking about mobile, which led to thinking about Hotel Tonight.
I see. So did that business kind of morph into Hotel Tonight?
No, that business is still standalone. And we ended up thinking Hotel Tonight started within that business, but then we spun it out and created a new entity as we realized that Hotel Tonight was just a much bigger opportunity, a very different opportunity. It was going to need different capitalization. We didn't want to just shut down DealBase arbitrarily. We thought that the business is profitable and actually, makes a considerable amount of money, given how much it raised in terms of EBITDA. So we didn't want to throw that away. And so that's why we segmented the businesses out. And it's interesting. It's actually being relaunched right now. And a guy named Clem Basson, who was the president of Hotwire, which is an Expedia company. He took over about a year ago as CEO of DealBase, and that business is being relaunched now as GoSeek, and he's done a really phenomenal job as CEO there. And GoSeek is almost like the true like vision of DealBase of like, help me find the best offers and the best prices for a hotel. He's actually, executed on it better than we initially did. And it's worth a look. It's going to be, I think he's going to build a really big site and a really big brand out of this. It's just in beta now and launching, officially launching in a few months.
So this brings us to Hotel Tonight, and it sounds a little competitive with Hotel Tonight. Like, essentially, when I use Hotel Tonight, I'm looking for a hotel room tonight and a discount, or at least that's initially what I was looking for. Now you've extended out; it could be a few days in advance. You have 15,000 hotels. You're in 28 countries. But when you first started Hotel Tonight, how did it work? Like, how did you get all the inventory from hotels so that at 5 p.m. you knew all the empty hotel rooms, like in New York City, for instance?
Yeah, we started, it was just three of us, and we had an idea for building something, as we mentioned early on, better at the last minute for booking hotels. And we, and really focused on that use case. And so I did the product, I did the marketing. We had a CTO that built the product and did all the engineering. And then our other co-founder, Jared, he did all the relationships with hotels. And we went around and signed up. We launched with 3 cities and only about 15 hotels total. And he went to some of the best hotels that were in these cities that were these iconic, really independent boutique hotels, places like the Ace in New York and the Joie de Vie hotels out here in San Francisco and the Thompson hotels and the Roosevelt in LA. And he went in with what remains was and is a very strong sales pitch, which is, hey, we'd like to help you sell rooms that you're not going to sell on your own. Because we're focusing on same day or now close-in bookings, you know what your occupancy is going to be. You know that you're going to have rooms that are empty. We can help you fill those. We're not competing for you, months in advance for those rooms. We think that you should sell those directly on your own website. But if you need help at the last minute with these unfilled rooms, we can help get those for you and get those filled for you.
And so what would they do? They would then, like at 5 o'clock at night, their manager, part of his job would be to fax or email you a list of rooms that were open, or what would happen then?
Yeah, I mean, early on, we would just call them every day because we didn't have an interface for them. But then quickly we built what's called an extranet in the hotel industry where they log in, and it's the simplest thing in the world for selling hotels. It just says 2 pieces of information. How many rooms do you want to sell and what price do you want to sell them for? And we then they can change that at any time. It's all reflected in real time. And the best deals for that day and that very minute get the most visibility on Hotel Tonight. So if you really want to move, you've got 100 rooms to move. If you really want to move those, provide a bigger discount, lower your price, you're going to move up in the rankings, and the conversion rate of a lower price is much higher than a higher price.
And so was this like a sales effort? Like, you now deal with like 15,000 hotels. Like, are you calling hotels constantly to get more hotels on board? Yeah. We've got a really great and dedicated team here that keeps relationships going with our existing hotel inventory as well as adds new hotels. And we're always seeing great hotels come on the market. We're always going back to the hotels that we've wanted to work with for a long time and adding great new finds all the time. So we're constantly doing that. And that said, it's gotten a lot easier as we've gotten larger. Hotels now come to us, and we also work with some of the bigger chains now, like Starwood and Hilton. And then lastly, we work with groups of hotels. So, things like Kimpton or places, ownership groups, people that represent 100 different franchises will all work with us. Oh, that's great. So let me get the economics right. There were 3 of you. You built an app, which is relatively cheap initially to build, and you take a 10 to 15% fee, I guess, on every hotel room booked. Were you profitable right away? No, we took it took a long time for the business to start working. I think that on a relative basis, it took like 2 weeks before we saw anybody book a hotel. So, and then it took months for people to start booking en masse. Why did it take Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we wondered that too, and I think as we look back on it, it's an awareness. The distance between awareness and actual utilization in this business is not immediate, is on the order of weeks or months. So, I might hear about Hotel Tonight, I might check it out because it's a cool app, it's well designed, but I don't need a hotel right now. I don't need a hotel tonight. I'm going to need a hotel on Friday night, and I'm excited about booking on Friday night, but I'm not going to need one exactly right now. And so because of that, people, they also wanted to check the app out. They wanted to look at the rates. They wanted to kick the tires. They wanted to make sure it was credible. So they wanted to read more in the press about us and hear from friends that we've delivered a great room at a great price and that they got treated well by the hotel. So it took some time.
Was it better than like so I used to use Expedia to find hotels, tonight. Did you offer any benefits over using Expedia?
Yeah, so there was a lot of benefits over booking any other way. So it boils down to saving time and saving money. I think all consumer products need to deliver on one, ideally both. So for us on saving money, we did, and we maintain the lowest rates for our hotels. We guarantee it. For the hotels, the majority of hotels are providing discounts on Hotel Tonight. Those discounts are average 15% over what you'd pay on a large online travel agency. Oftentimes are much higher than that. And then on the time saving side, we have the fastest way to book a hotel. We've had that since we launched. It's 10 seconds. It's 3 taps and a swipe. You're out of the app and on with your night. And it's just incredibly, incredibly easy to book these rooms. And people like that. People like, the fact that we take all the pain out of choosing a hotel. We've done the work for them. We've looked at 400, 500 hotels in a city. We've determined which ones are the best in terms of service, quality, location, ratings. And then of those, which are offering the very best deals for that night, and that they can then, book in confidence.
Well, what's like the worst moment you've had where like a customer just had a really bad experience at a hotel and it made you worried about the business? Was there ever a moment like that?
Yeah, we've had a few moments like that, and we knew that we were going to have those moments. Though it's still like I get personally just like almost sick when a customer has a bad experience. But we knew we were going to have some of those situations. So what we did is we invested early on in very, very good customer service to make sure that we could turn somebody that had a bad experience into somebody that ended up being a loyal customer and a fan and a promoter of Hotel Tonight.
What's a classic bad experience?
Every once in a while a hotel is oversold, and so somebody shows up at the hotel and then has to get a taxi to a different hotel. And when it's late and when you're expecting to stay at one hotel, it's no fun to have to stay in a different hotel.
Yeah, that's awful. That's happened to me using Expedia, actually. So
yeah, we track it with very closely with our hotel partners, and if it happens too much, then or it happens repeatedly, we will stop working with that hotel.
So let me ask you this: like right now, I live in New York, but right now near Miami, and I'm using Airbnb, and I'm paying $250. I'm in a house with a pool right on the lake. I've got 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. There's like 3 living rooms in this house. And again, I'm paying $250 a night. If I were to get a hotel in Miami, it would be like, $300, $400, $500 a night. What's happening in the industry now? Like is Airbnb going to dominate? Because I pretty much only use Airbnb. And on a follow-up question, can you do Airbnb tonight?
So on the last part, there's nothing that would prevent us from doing that. We're accommodations. We're very focused on working with our hotel partners now, but that doesn't mean that that's where we're gated. But we're definitely focused on the more sort of traditional types of lodging. And that has to do with the logistics around the last minute booking, and that, And when you show up at a hotel late at night, there's a front desk staff there. There's services to get you into your room really quickly. A lot of those logistics are far more difficult when you're dealing with a homestay to be able to make that transaction happen seamlessly. But
unless you make a front end interface where people can say, okay, I'm here, I'm ready. If someone wants to book tonight, I'm available. So they can kind of sign up on a day by day basis.
Yeah, I think you'll see some of that happening. I think that there's still a fair amount of friction on it, and if you look at the incidence rate of where there's going to be an issue, I think it's going to be much higher even if you get those things in place. Because what if I forget that I'm home and then end up going out to to a bar and then somebody shows up and is ready to check in? I'm sure that those will be all sorted out. I think that they're not insurmountable, but I think they're issues in the short term. But hey, I think Airbnb is a wonderful business. I think Brian and I have, talk on a regular basis, and we see the world in a very similar way in terms of where it's headed, in terms of more human, more social, more authentic experiences. And we both are excited to be helping to shape that world and make hospitality truly hospitable again. And so it's exciting. And so we're much more cut from the same cloth than we are competitors. I think that what's happening with Airbnb and alternative lodging is great. And it's bringing more choice to the world. It's bringing more choice to travelers. There's times where you're staying is great for people. There's other times when you need something that has the services of a hotel that's in that part of a city, especially when you're talking about business traveler, or if you're talking about leisure travel. And I'm taking my family to Chicago this weekend, and we're going to be staying near a wedding, and we want to be right on Michigan Avenue. And a homestay wouldn't have that same level of location, of proximity, and it wouldn't have the same level of services either. It wouldn't have the restaurant on site. It wouldn't have a gym. It wouldn't have a pool. And that's important for us for this trip. Not important for us for all trips, though.
So another idea is, can you tie in Hotel Tonight to my calendar? So you see, for instance, I'm traveling to Chicago in a week, and you start kind of pinging me with reminders like, oh, here's the types of rooms and places we could find for you when you get to Chicago. And by the way, here's a car service that could pick you up at the airport, and we have a deal with them. Like, I need car service tonight also, particularly when I land in new cities.
I like those ideas a lot. Those are great ideas. You should come and do some product consulting for us.
I'm happy to. The thing is, I don't really travel a lot, but when I travel, I really like everything super convenient, and I don't like to use cash or credit cards ever. I like it to all be app driven. So for instance, as soon as I get to the airport, I want somebody to meet me there, help me with my luggage, take me to a car, take me to the hotel. I don't want to pay any cash or anything. Like, it's all in the app, like all that I'm going to tip, all this, even tipping like the bellman at the hotel. I want it all taken care of. And I want to have it tied into my calendar so I don't even have to think of it on the day of.
Yeah, I like that vision. And yeah, we'll, let's stay in touch on that, because it's definitely the vision of this. Like, on one end, it's about, making travel more human, it's making travel more authentic. On the other end, it's making travel more seamless. And we started on more of the seamless dimension, and then now adding this, human and authenticity dimension. Whereas Airbnb started on the other side and is coming to making travel more seamless and making their experience more consistent. We have a very consistent experience right now. So I think we're attacking it, and we're going to end up in the same place. But I think there's a lot, as you mentioned, there's a lot more we can do to make things more seamless, and that would be interesting for us to work on.
Well, and then there's the question of, Can you go more general than hotels? Like, is there anything else I might need tonight that can be somehow acquired through your software? Like, for instance, obviously Uber is kind of handling it with car services, but maybe I need, I'm at a hotel, I need toothpaste, or I'm in an Airbnb, I need toothpaste or deliveries or something like that. Like, have you thought about anything more generic than hotels or more general?
Yeah, we see just a lot more focus or a lot more opportunity just in the hospitality and the lodging space, and that's where we're focused right now. But that doesn't mean that there's things around that could be useful for maximizing your enjoyment of your stay. So certainly something we're looking at.
Like what if I need a meal tonight? Like I'm at my home, I'm not even at a hotel. I just need like a hot meal in the next 20 minutes, and I hit a button on Hotel Tonight, and 20 minutes later, a hot vegetarian meal is delivered to me.
Yeah, I think as long as we could do that better than anyone else that's working on that, then we would be interested in that. Otherwise, we'd love to partner with the best services out there that are doing it.
Yeah, I guess there's Spoon Rocket in San Francisco. There's a few companies like food truck companies in San Francisco, but I don't really know anywhere else where there's this going on. That's basically my questions on Hotel Tonight. What's next for Hotel Tonight? What are you planning next?
We've got a lot of things in the works. One of the big initiative for us towards the end of this year was moving from tonight only to 7 days up to 7 days in advance. The same Hotel Tonight experience, the simple booking, the curated inventory. So you're always going to get a great hotel, the great customer service. If you have any questions or you want to make, you have any, anything does go wrong or any changes need to be made, we're there for you. We're your advocate. So all of that with now a little bit more flexibility. People were saying, hey, we love Hotel Tonight, but sometimes I need a little more flexibility. Booking on Tuesday for my weekend getaway is still very spontaneous to me. Help me do that. So that's been a really big win for us and opened us up to a lot more customers.
So on the one hand, my wife who's listening, she just said, thank you so much for that. Cause she was the one who showed me Hotel Tonight, and it became a regular part of our lives. So that was great. But you got pushback from the hotels because now you're starting to compete against their own sales a little bit more than you were before.
Yeah, I don't, we worked really closely with we have a hotel advisory board on this change. And the bottom line is that within a week, they start knowing what their occupancy is. They're selling right now on other channels to begin with, and they're paying a much higher commission. We have the lowest commissions in the industry. They're paying a much higher commission to sell on these other channels. And so for us to give them another way to sell this inventory, they can work with another partner. They're not concentrating all of their distribution on just a few companies. They were very positive on it, and they really like our guests too. They like working with us. They like the ease of the tools that we provide them and the systems we provide them. So there was no pushback from the hotels, and they've been really happy with the results. So
you guys have raised $80 million in funding. Did you need that much? Like, what do you do with $80 million?
Yeah, so one of the big other areas of investment for us is international expansion. And we brought on the guy that did international expansion for Airbnb, and he's been working for us for about 3 months, building up the team, opening a bunch of offices, so opening like 4 more offices around the world. And we're going to be making a lot of strides on international expansion. The expansion in travel and the travel category in general does take a fairly large investment because you're talking about putting these systems in place and then generating awareness for something people don't use every day. So there's a time period of awareness building before the pattern of use starts kicking in, and that's what we're seeing in other areas. But that's why we raised that money so that we could invest in that growth. So another thing I'm always intrigued by, obviously you're building a great company. It's successful. You've raised a lot of money. If someone, let's say an Airbnb, comes to you and says, hey, Sam, here's $400 million. Can we buy you? Would you feel tempted to take it and just be like, rich beyond your wildest dreams? Or do you want to pursue this to the end? We've got big goals for Hotel Tonight, and it's just a wonderful platform where we've got a great team. We've got lots of resources, wonderful investors. I've got, great co-founders, and we've got, a really strong vision for where we want to take it. And if, the other way I look at that is that if this all ended right now, what would I want to do personally? And what I'd want to do personally is get back to right where I am right now with a product, with a team, with customer traction in a wonderful category that we're shaking things up on. And so it'd be sort of a disappointment to sell the business right now. And so we're just, I don't really think about that too much. I just think about, how do we execute? How do we grow a great business? How do we build a great culture and a great team? And how do we really just deliver on a great customer experience so that people are getting the best possible hotel at the best possible rate?
All right. Well, Sam, thanks again so much for agreeing to come on the show, and I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the app and continue to use it. I'm also a fan of Airbnb, as you could tell, so I can't wait until you have Airbnb tonight. But I'll wait for it.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, and happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot, Sam. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
For more from James, check out the James Altucher Show on the Stansberry Radio Network at stansberryradio.com and get yourself on the free insiders list today.
No matter what you're a fan of, Texas has the trip for you. There's the trip to Texas and the trip. Or maybe you're the kind of fan who'd prefer a trip to Texas or a trip. Either way, go to traveltexas.com/get your own for the only trip to Texas that matters. Yours.